The United States of America, land of the free, home of the brave, a beacon of hope, a symbol of democracy, a nation built on the ideals of liberty and justice for all, where dreams are pursued and possibilities are endless. For centuries, this nation has stood as a testament to the enduring power of human aspiration and the unwavering belief in a brighter tomorrow. From the early settlers who braved the unknown to the pioneers who expanded the frontier, America has always been a land of opportunity and promise. But today the American experiment faces a crossroads, a pivotal moment in its history where the path forward is uncertain and fraught with challenges. A confluence of challenges that threaten to unravel the very fabric of this nation. The ideals that once united us now seem to be the very things that divide us. From the hallowed halls of Congress to the bustling streets of its cities, the sense of division is palpable. The debates that once fostered progress now seem to sow discord and distrust. A palpable sense of unease hangs in the air, a collective holding of breath as the nation grapples with a multitude of internal and external pressures. The anxiety is visible in the faces of everyday Americans who wonder what the future holds. A collective holding of breath as the nation grapples with a multitude of internal and external pressures. The news cycles are filled with stories of conflict and crisis, leaving many to question the stability of the nation. The economy teeters on the brink of uncertainty, its once unshakable foundations weakened by a perfect storm of inflation, rising interest rates, and global economic shifts. Small businesses struggle to stay afloat, and families worry about their financial futures. Its once unshakable foundations weakened by a perfect storm of inflation, rising interest rates, and a widening gap between the haves and the have-nots. The cost of living continues to rise, making it harder for many to make ends meet, and a widening gap between the haves and the have-nots. The disparity is stark, with wealth concentrated in the hands of a few while many struggle to find shelter and basic necessities. Political polarization has reached a fever pitch, dividing the nation into warring factions. The once civil discourse has given way to heated arguments and entrenched positions, dividing the nation into warring factions, each convinced of their own righteousness and unwilling to bridge the chasm that separates them. The political landscape is a battleground with little room for compromise, each convinced of their own righteousness and unwilling to bridge the chasm that separates them. Even within families and communities, the divisions run deep, creating rifts that seem impossible to mend. Social unrest simmers beneath the surface, fueled by a potent cocktail of racial injustice, economic inequality, and a growing sense of disenfranchisement among large segments of the population. The streets are filled with voices demanding change, and the tension is palpable. Fueled by a potent cocktail of racial injustice, economic inequality, and a growing sense of disenfranchisement among large segments of the population. The calls for justice and equality echo through the streets as people from all walks of life come together to demand a better future, and a growing sense of disenfranchisement among large segments of the population. In towns and cities across the nation, the sense of loss and disillusionment is evident as people grapple with the realities of a changing world. Like a ship caught in a tempestuous storm, the United States navigates treacherous waters, its once steady course buffeted by the winds of change and the relentless pounding of the waves. The journey is perilous, and the outcome uncertain. The United States navigates treacherous waters, its once steady course buffeted by the winds of change and the relentless pounding of the waves. The nation must find a way to steer through the storm, to chart a course that leads to calmer seas. Its once steady course buffeted by the winds of change and the relentless pounding of the waves. The question that hangs heavy in the air is not whether the storm will pass, but whether the ship of state will emerge from the maelstrom intact, or be dashed upon the rocks of history. The question that hangs heavy in the air is not whether the storm will pass, but whether the ship of state will emerge from the maelstrom intact or be dashed upon the rocks of history. The stakes are high, and the future of the nation hangs in the balance, but whether the ship of state will emerge from the maelstrom intact or be dashed upon the rocks of history, the answer, dear friends, lies not in the stars, but in the choices we make today. The decisions we make now will determine the course of our future. The answer, dear friends, lies not in the stars, but in the choices we make today. The power to shape our destiny is in our hands, and it is up to us to rise to the occasion. But in the choices we make today, for the fate of America rests not on some preordained destiny, but on the collective will of its people. It is through unity and determination that we can overcome the challenges we face. For the fate of America rests not on some preordained destiny, but on the collective will of its people. Together, we can build a future that honors the ideals upon which this nation was founded, but on the collective will of its people. The road ahead may be difficult, but with courage and conviction, we can navigate the crossroads and emerge stronger, united, and ready to face the future. The American dream, that cherished notion of upward mobility and prosperity, has become increasingly elusive for many. Once a beacon of hope and opportunity, it now seems like a distant mirage for countless families across the nation. The promise of a better life, symbolized by home ownership, financial security, and the ability to provide for one's family, is slipping away, leaving many to question the very foundation of their aspirations. The cost of living continues to skyrocket, fueled by an inflation rate that has eroded the purchasing power of hardworking Americans. Everyday essentials, from groceries to gasoline, have become increasingly expensive, stretching household budgets to their limits. Families are forced to make difficult choices, cutting back on non-essentials and even essentials just to make ends meet. The ripple effects of inflation are felt in every corner of the economy, from the checkout line to the gas pump, leaving no one untouched. Housing, once a symbol of stability and achievement, has become an unattainable dream for many, as soaring mortgage rates and sky-high property prices push homeownership out of reach for a growing segment of the population. The dream of owning a home, a cornerstone of the American dream, is now a source of stress and anxiety. Prospective buyers are faced with bidding wars, limited inventory, and the harsh reality that their financial resources may never be enough to secure a place they can call their own. The Federal Reserve, tasked with the unenviable job of taming inflation, has been forced to raise interest rates at a breakneck pace, a move that has slowed the economy and made it more expensive for businesses to borrow money and create jobs. This delicate balancing act aims to curb inflation without plunging the economy into a recession. However, the higher interest rates have also led to increased borrowing costs for consumers, affecting everything from credit card debt to auto loans, further straining household finances. The stock market, once a reliable engine of wealth creation, has become a roller coaster ride of volatility, leaving investors with a sense of unease and uncertainty about the future. Market fluctuations have eroded retirement savings and investment portfolios, causing anxiety among those who rely on these funds for their future security. The unpredictability of the market has made it difficult for investors to plan and has shaken confidence in the financial system. The widening gap between the rich and the poor only exacerbates the problem, creating a society where the fruits of economic growth are increasingly concentrated in the hands of a select few. This growing disparity is visible in stark contrasts: luxury cars parked next to homeless encampments, high-end restaurants adjacent to people begging on the streets. The concentration of wealth among the elite has left the majority struggling to keep up, fostering a sense of injustice and disillusionment. This economic inequality, coupled with a shrinking middle class, has created a powder keg of resentment and frustration, threatening to ignite social unrest and undermine the very fabric of American society. The middle class, once the backbone of the nation, is feeling the squeeze as wages stagnate and job security diminishes. The growing divide between the haves and the have-nots is not just an economic issue, but a social one, with far-reaching implications for the nation's stability and cohesion. The Great American Experiment was founded on the principle of e pluribus unum, out of many, one. Yet today the United States finds itself more divided than at any point in recent memory. Political polarization, once a simmering tension, has erupted into a full-blown conflagration, consuming the body politic and leaving a trail of scorched earth in its wake. The two major political parties, Democrats and Republicans, have retreated to their respective corners, each viewing the other not as opponents in a contest of ideas, but as existential threats to the very soul of the nation. Compromise, once a cornerstone of American democracy, has become a dirty word, replaced by a zero-sum game where one side's gain is inherently perceived as the other side's loss. This hyperpartisanship has poisoned the well of public discourse, making it nearly impossible to have a rational conversation about the pressing issues facing the nation. Social media, once hailed as a tool for connecting people and fostering understanding, has become a weaponized echo chamber, where people are bombarded with information that confirms their existing biases and demonizes those who hold opposing views. Beneath the surface of American society, a cauldron of social issues simmers, threatening to boil over and further fracture an already deeply divided nation. The complexities of these issues are vast, ranging from racial injustice to economic inequality, each feeding into the other and creating a web of challenges that seem insurmountable. Racial injustice, a persistent stain on the American conscience, continues to plague communities of color. This deep-seated issue has been a part of the American narrative for centuries, and despite progress in some areas, the scars remain fresh and the wounds often reopen. The deaths of unarmed black men and women at the hands of law enforcement have sparked nationwide protests, fueling anger, resentment, and a profound sense of distrust in the institutions that are supposed to serve and protect them. These tragic events have not only highlighted the systemic racism embedded within the law enforcement agencies but have also brought to light the urgent need for comprehensive police reform. Community members gather in vigils and meetings, seeking solace and solutions, but the path to justice and equality remains fraught with obstacles. The voices of those affected are loud and clear, demanding change and accountability. Economic inequality further exacerbates these social divisions, creating a system where opportunities are not equally distributed. The gap between the wealthy and the poor continues to widen, making the American dream an elusive concept for far too many. Access to quality education, healthcare, and affordable housing, basic human rights in many developed nations, remain out of reach for a significant portion of the American population. The struggle for economic justice is intertwined with the fight against racial injustice. The lack of opportunities and resources in marginalized communities perpetuates a cycle of poverty and despair, making it difficult for individuals to break free from the constraints imposed upon them by an unequal society. Activists and community leaders are at the forefront of these battles, tirelessly working to bring about change. They organize forums, rallies, and discussions, aiming to educate and mobilize the public. Their efforts are crucial in keeping the conversation alive and pushing for the necessary reforms. The stark contrast between wealthy and impoverished neighborhoods is a visual representation of the economic divide. In one part of the city, luxury and abundance are evident, while just a few miles away, people struggle to meet their basic needs. This disparity is a glaring reminder of the work that still needs to be done. Education and employment opportunities are not equally distributed, further entrenching the divide. Students in underfunded schools lack the resources and support they need to succeed, while job seekers face an uphill battle in a competitive market. The promise of equal opportunity remains unfulfilled for many. Access to quality education, healthcare, and affordable housing, basic human rights in many developed nations, remain elusive for a significant portion of the American population, perpetuating a cycle of poverty and despair. The lack of these essential services creates barriers that are difficult to overcome. Families find themselves in homeless shelters, waiting for affordable housing assistance that may never come. The struggle to secure a stable home is a daily reality for many, and the impact on children and their future prospects is profound. This toxic mix of social and economic ills has led to a fraying of the social fabric, a breakdown of trust in institutions, and a rise in political extremism. The very notion of a shared American identity, once a source of national pride and unity, is being challenged as never before. The fragmentation of America is evident in the polarized opinions and heated debates that dominate public discourse. Social media amplifies these divisions, creating echo chambers where differing viewpoints are rarely heard or considered. The rise of political extremism is a symptom of this fragmentation. As trust in traditional institutions erodes, people turn to more radical ideologies, seeking answers and solutions that align with their frustrations and fears. Scandals involving public officials and perceived government corruption further erode trust, making it difficult for citizens to believe in the system that governs them. The sense of betrayal is palpable, and the call for accountability grows louder. The rise in political extremism is not just a fringe phenomenon, it has entered the mainstream, influencing policy and public opinion. The clashes at political protests and rallies are a stark reminder of the deep divisions that exist within the country. The very notion of a shared American identity, once a source of national pride and unity, is being challenged as never before. The idea of a united nation, where diverse groups come together to celebrate common values, seems increasingly out of reach. Yet, amidst the division, there are still moments of unity and hope. Diverse groups come together to celebrate national events, reminding us of the potential for a more inclusive and cohesive society. However, these moments are often overshadowed by the polarized opinions and heated debates that dominate the public sphere. Social media platforms, while providing a space for dialogue, often amplify divisions and create echo chambers where differing viewpoints are rarely heard or considered. The fragmented landscape of competing interests and ideologies makes it challenging to find common ground. The path to a more united and equitable America is fraught with obstacles, but the journey is essential for the future of the nation.